And that is how we do it on Discord.
Well, that's interesting. So
yeah, I don't remember where I first discovered Craig. I think it was for the other podcast that I run, which is kind of dormant right now. But handy thing and multi-track. So I like that.
I only got two. I think I understand briefly what a multi-track is, but yeah.
Basically, it means that like I get one sound stream that is your audio, one that's mine. So
okay.
if I need to do like any sort of, that's why I did it, right? Because we had one guy on the other podcast who, and I mean, like it's a gaming focused podcast. So sure, like half the guys on it are always playing a game in the background. But this one guy was like a mechanical keyboard enthusiast.
I had a work colleague that was like that. He brought his own in from home and it could do, and you could hear he always
clackety,
liked
clackety.
Yeah. I remember him doing that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a thing. And I mean, like it's, I like the tactile feel. I get it. But man, that's the sort of background noise that the filter ain't going to deal with. So then I had to like go in and literally like remove each and like whenever he was not obviously speaking in his sound wave, I had to just like silence the whole thing because it was just keyboard clackety all the way through. Well,
yeah. So how do you want to start this now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll kind of dance past the group commissioner topic because, well, Shane's not here. But, if you have anything else that's been on your mind lately, and I mean, if not, I can probably think of something because, I got lots of stuff on my mind sometimes.
Well, I could tell you like a bit about myself, and because I don't know where.
Yeah, well, I guess actually, yeah. Hang on, just a sec, because this is usually the part where I would like stop Colin and be just like, oh, right, we should do the intro. So hang on a sec here. Well, welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff. You've got two of us today. Once again, I am Scouter Ken, and at the other end of the internet is Scouter Sheldon. Hello.
Hello.
And so I'm not quite sure when this episode is going to be released. We're recording a little bit before Christmas, but it's probably going to come out sometime in the new year. But one of the last episodes we released in 2023 was with Scouter Shane. And that just happens to be Scouter Sheldon's brother, twin brother at that. But, and we were initially going to have the two of them on with this episode to like have a fun little chat about something, but couldn't get Shane this time. But we do have you, Sheldon. So welcome, first and foremost. You've been a listener to the podcast for a while, as I understand.
Since episode 8.
Wow. That's dedication.
And I remember after I heard that, I went back and I had to go into Podbean to download the other episodes, which was a hassle. But I remember listening and I was like, and I've always tried to promote the podcast whenever I meet somebody. It's just like, yeah, there's a Canadian scouting podcast you should listen to. Here's how you find it.
Well, thank you. Hey, have I sent you stickers yet?
No, you haven't sent me stickers yet.
Oh, message me your mailing address and I'll drop some in the mail as soon as I can.
Okay, perfect, great.
Still a few of those left.
Do you have any neckers left?
You know what? We never actually wound up producing them. Couldn't get enough initial interest. So I'm just going to, I mean, I have other stuff I'm paying for right now. So once that's out of the way, I will make sure that I can earmark some funds to just do a run of neckers, and then I'll just, sell them directly. But for now,
I like to look at them. So yeah,
I am though. I found an old notebook of hastily sketched design notes. So I'm currently working on a what is tentatively called Scouting for Cards.
Oh.
So a little card/board game idea that I had a few years ago and then promptly lost the notebook for and then found again while I was decluttering my basement.
I ran into Mike when I was doing my camp functions.
Oh, Scouter Mike Eibel?
Yeah. So he was there and I really first thing I asked him, when's the next time you're going on the podcast?
Yeah. Oh,
and
well.
He's just, that's what he said. He said, "Oh well, my schedule keeps me kind of busy," and he's like, "And it's hard further out where he is and where I am." And I was like, "Yeah, I get that."
Oh, that wasn't what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, he and I have plans.
Oh, okay, great.
There's plans afoot.
I always liked when he was on the podcast and when he was talking, whatever he was talking about, because it was always great to get.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's crazy engaging. It's wonderful. Mike's a wonderful guy. But no, actually, now that he's the communications coordinator, we have a series of things that we're trying to set up, and hopefully more on that come mid-January, along with a trial run. But Yeah, no, I mean, the podcast has always existed to be at the service of Scouts Canada. It's not an official Scouts Canada production, but it has always been available for them to use as any kind of messaging vehicle. And they've certainly taken me up on that in past years. But they actually want to try and move it forward a little bit, make it a little bit more of a formally, still not, like still not an official Scouts Canada thing, but they want to use it more and actually like have sort of scheduled events where we can do like it's we're still putting the final details together and figuring out like all the software and integrations that we need to pull together, but we want it to be a way to involve more of the community with the discussion topics that we come up with. And so yeah, hopefully some details coming out in early January with that, but for now I think that's enough spoiler dropping.
So I guess I better introduce my
yes. Who are you, sir?
So I am Sheldon Lehman. Like you said, I am currently a program support scouter for Camp Everton here in Ontario. So
nice.
what I primarily do for them is I primarily run their archery range.
Ah, respect.
Yeah, and I'm currently doing that with 2 other camps as well. So they keep me fairly busy.
Yeah, it would be. It would. I mean, like we do have a bunch of like trained rangemasters in our group, and they're always on loan to other scouting groups. Precisely for that, you need the certifications. You need people who can run a range.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough where the guy that I learned it from, he's actually judged at the Olympic qualifiers. So he's a very, very knowledgeable man. Glenn, if you're listening, I learned a lot from you. So.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, geez, you just gave me 2 things that I want to pick your brain about. And one of them is like those trainings, right, for the Rangemaster and stuff like that. And that's probably the less controversial topic, because the other thing that I desperately want to pick someone's brain about is properties.
Oh, okay.
Because you have amazing properties out there in the East, and we are just hemorrhaging them here out West.
Yeah. I can tell you a bit about Everton. Everton was first opened up in 1943. For some of your viewers that may know roughly Ontario, if you know where Blue Springs is, it is 10 minutes away from there. So, and a lot of your viewers will know Blue Springs because Blue Springs is the site of the Guerrilla reunion for Ontario.
Ah, okay, cool.
Which I've been to since 2014, once I got my Wood Badge 2 beads. So
nice.
So that's I guess that would be a topic for the podcast at some point as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. Always need ideas. But you know what? I think just for the sake of brevity, I'm going to steer away from sort of the properties topic, because I'm sure that is a rabbit hole that needs to be dived down at some point, but not with the half hour both of us have left. So, but so, yeah, I do think talking about I
can talk to you about archery.
Yeah, actually, Rangemaster training and archery, I think, would be like excellent stuff, because I mean, yeah, Scouts love archery, and they love pelletry, and they love, I mean, not too many of us do riflery anymore, but in my experience, Scouts and Cubs love shooting things at things.
Speaking of pelletry, I just got certified 2 weeks ago for pelletry now.
Oh, nice.
So the only thing, and I do with the current plans we have, at some point, I will probably get them to build a tomahawk range out there. So we'll have archery, pelletry, and tomahawk throwing at Everton at some point.
Nice.
So which is great, because I mean, you want to talk about that? Kids love shooting stuff and love throwing stuff. So.
Oh yeah, we did axe throwing at like some Cubberama event. I mean, it was a third-party contractor that that was their thing, like the axe throwing party game stuff. So they came in and they handled all like the supervision. So we didn't need to have like trained people on hand. But yeah, we did that, and so much fun. But anyways, yeah. So maybe just kind of give us a little bit of an overview of like, how'd you become a Rangemaster, and what did the Rangemaster do?
Okay. So, it was interesting that I became a Rangemaster. I didn't set out like, hey, this is what I want to do. We have a camp near us called Camp Pisa, which is out near Drumbo, Ontario. We started up a range, and they were looking for people, and they said, well, we're going to run an archery certification course. And because my group at the time was using that a fair bit, 2 of us went out there and got certified. And once I got certified on that, when they reopened Everton, they were looking for someone, and they're like, I think I know somebody. So I got put on with that. And then another camp, which is the guy I learned from, he's the Rangemaster there. He was like, come on out and I'll get you certified for pelletry so you guys know what you're doing. But the way it is now is that Scouts Canada is now just starting to get out to the where we're having a standard procedure for every camp. But the way it is right now is that you have to go to each camp will run their own certification and then certify you for that range. So, and that's the way Apiza's done it. That's the way some of the other camps doing it, and that's the way Everton will be doing it. We'll run a course in the spring sometime. We'll have local groups come out. They get their guys certified, and then when their group comes, they have a Rangemaster certified for there.
Nice. And I mean, at that point, they're qualified to run archery pretty much anywhere that there's equipment and targets, right? Not just necessarily on Scout property.
Yeah, because one of the things that Scouts Canada is doing is that we're making sure we're standardizing a lot of the equipment that we're using, and we're standardizing a lot of the training that we're using. So, and one of the nice things now is that I don't know if you've done archery out where you guys are. Are you guys still using the longbows?
Well, we have our own set of our group in particular, like we don't have a physical scout shop anymore. I think they had gone to the shorter bows, and I know they had some really light draw weight bows, like 15 pounders. But our group some years ago made the decision to purchase its own set of bows, and I don't believe they're long bows either. Again, different sort of a selection of draw weights, including a couple of really light ones. And then we also have arrows that we maintain for ourselves, and like netting, and even a couple of targets. So we've got we can literally plop our own range down anywhere there's a field, basically. But we also don't, we also don't mind. We have there's one particular archery shop that has its own range here in here in Edmonton. And we have a good relationship with them. And so we can, schedule some range time there for fairly cheap. So depending, we'll do it one way or the other. But I mean, we have our own gear. So, but yeah, not longbows, no.
I was just wondering, because the way we're looking at most camps I'm talking to now is that they're going to compound bows. And the reason why is because it's easier on the kids. And I think we're at the draw weight is 12 pounds. So it's pretty easy for the kids to pull.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what we have is compounds. And again, like a variety of draw weights, but a couple of really light ones. They might even be 12 pounders. Yeah.
That's pretty much from what I'm doing, that's pretty much what we're doing at the 3 camps that I'm participating in. Yeah, they're generally using the same equipment because the 3 camps that I'm involved with, the same guy picked out all the equipment. And he's like, yeah, here's the equipment that you want and everything else like that. I know we just got new targets out into Everton, so we're going to come the spring, we'll set up our range, and our range will be up and ready to go. Nice. I've just checked out all the equipment, and the equipment's all in storage, so now it's like, come the spring, there you go.
Yeah. No, that's nice. It's nice when, a camp can offer that. Like we don't have any of the big adventure bases here left anymore. We lost Camp Woods and our camp in Pisa over the last few years. But there are some smaller Scout properties, and there's this one particular one not too far from here called Scoutland. It's on a place called Chickacoo Lake. And there's some DIY to the range. It's not a truly permanent range. You kind of all the stuff is tucked away inside the cabin at Chickacoo. And one of the area scout groups maintains it basically. But you can pull out all the targets and set them up, but they're set up for pelletry, right? So they actually have a full set of air rifles out there. And really all you got to show up with is your own lead pellets.
Yeah. I was just at a camp when I was taking my pelletry. Yeah. They have an indoor range and an outdoor range.
Nice.
So the indoor range is kind of nice, but they actually, their indoor range at one point, they had actually set up so they could shoot 22s in the indoor.
Oh, with the extra ventilation and whatnot.
Yeah, they had gone through all of that and gone through that process. And I think the only reason they're not doing it anymore is because literally they do not have they actually have a full vault and everything, and they just don't they got rid of the 22s and because they had to do more upgrading onto the range to keep the certification.
Yeah, well, and that was the reason that that was one of the reasons that like we lost the ability to do back when we had a physical scout shop here. They had a range in the basement, and yeah, they could not keep up with the ventilation standards for the 22s, which was kind of a shame because I remember shooting those quite fondly as a scout. But you know, the air rifles are in their own way rather fun, and like realistically, an air rifle and a 22 have almost the same amount of kick to them. So you know, if you can do one, it kind of translates over to the other not badly.
Yeah, I had a great time when we were learning because they make you when you go through the range certification. Of course, they make you go out and shoot them, and I was just like, oh, great! It's been a while since I did this. The only problem with it is that they make you shoot it from the prone position, which is laying down, which is great, but it's just like, yeah, at my age, it's not as easy to get down in that position and get back up in that position. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, that's catches up.
But for the youth, that's great. They'll have no problem doing that. So
no, they and I mean, like we don't force them to shoot from prone. We encourage them to at least try it. But like we also have we can set them up in like a sitting configuration or yeah, we have a couple of options for it. So because like, I mean, you try. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say because you try and cater to where people are at with their physical abilities, right? And I mean, most of our kids are fairly, healthy and nimble, but occasionally you have one or someone busts a leg, and then now what do you do?
Yeah. So like for my archery, I've done archery since I've done it with all types. I've done from Cubs and Scouts and Ventures with it. So, and I've done
nice.
The other day I had a group that came out and they had a visually impaired a person that actually shot, and they did pretty good actually.
Cool.
So
I'll see that every day.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why like they're saying like we should go with the compound bows, because then if you have something with a certain physical capability, then they could do that. And when I was on my course, they had one of the guys that was there. He does this outside of scouting archery, and he was telling me the number one person they have in the world right now for on the female side, she has no arms, so she's shooting it by her feet.
I think I've seen a video of her shoot, and she's darn impressive.
I know, and I was just like, okay, well then that seems to be. So when I often use that because I often tell Cubs when they have like, oh, this is very hard. It's like, no, it's not. Here's your favorite person doing it with no feet, with just their feet. So I think you can do it with your arms.
Yeah, or at least you can point to that and be just like, I mean, it is tricky to figure out how hard you have to pull the bow back, and aiming is very tricky too sometimes, right? Developing a sense of like, okay, I aimed too high that time, I need to adjust myself accordingly. But then equally, you can point at me just like, it is not impossible to figure this out.
No. And like I've said, like I've shot it with like and once you get the hang of it, the kids have a blast. They love it. They always want to come back and do it again. And I've never had anybody that's just like, nah, it's not for me. I've always have kids that come out. It's like, yeah, this is the best thing ever. It's like, yay.
Nice. Yeah. Well, and I mean, yeah, our scouts, like, I mean, they would probably do archery every week if that was financially and logistically feasible, but obviously it is not. But it doesn't stop them from telling us that, yeah, we could just do archery every week. That'd be great. Like, well, we're not an archery club, unfortunately. We have had a couple though that have gone on to like I have one that does biathlon, and it's like, well, you like shooting that much, like there are clubs you can join too that will let you shoot more than we can do here.
I believe they were looking, when I was at a property meeting, they were looking at possibly putting a biathlon course up at Halliburton at some point. So, and I was just like, and the way they would structure it out is that you wouldn't actually shoot, you would only be able to shoot on the range, but you would shoot from the range and then go out, do one lap, come back and shoot again.
That works.
So, yeah, that totally works. So, and I was just like, because Halliburton now is that they're going to be running it, instead of in the summer, they're running it all year. So they're looking at more and more programs putting up there. So
yeah, well, you need stuff to do in wintertime then.
Yeah. So other than, the obligated skiing or like, whatever, be cross country skiing or ice fishing on the lake, I guess.
Mm. Well, and I mean, that was something that I was actually really struck by when I was out at Kandersteg over the summer was, what their two busiest seasons are for program? Summer and winter. Now, granted, they have mountains there, so, they can do a lot in the mountains in wintertime too. But it kind of makes you stop and reflect because, I mean, wintertime, like it's the reality of what we have in Canada. And we can see it as being an obstacle. And to be fair, minus 40 is a significant obstacle for a broad range of activities, anything outdoors. But, equally, being able to really capitalize on the winter months and to just really try and capture those activities that are only enabled by the fact that there's snow on the ground, like that should definitely be part of the Canadian Scouting experience. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great. If you are going to do a winter activity, I would recommend don't drink warm Gatorade. I know some Olympic athletes, they actually say, I know athletes that have said that. They said that in the wintertime that because the water will freeze, right? They warm up Gatorade and drink it. And they're like, no, it's for hydration, but it's not a good experience.
Yeah, no. And I mean, well, and Gatorade, I mean, yes, it's beneficial for hydration, but only to a certain point because there's so much darn sugar in it as well, right? And I mean, it's weird to think, that's actually like one of the things that I think I've had like a learning curve issue with my scouts before. It's like, yeah, I mean, you all expect you're going to dehydrate when it's hot out, and you will. But you don't necessarily think that, when it's like minus 10 and you're out pounding away in the snow, that you're at as much of a risk of dehydration, but you are. And that's,
I deal with that. I deal with that at my work because I work in I work food safety at a pork processing plant, and so it's in a meat cooler every day. And I get people just like, "Oh, I don't need to drink water." Yeah, you do because you're going to be doing a physical activity. You're going to get dehydrated, so drink water. And they actually sell Gatorade at my work, and I was just like, "Don't drink that. Drink water. It's much better for you."
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's so yeah, and I mean, like the nice thing about coming back to like Rangemaster certifications and something that I mentioned a little bit earlier is that once you have it, you're not tied to your group, because, and I think this is maybe, something that we do well, but I don't necessarily know if this is true everywhere. I don't know if this necessarily is something that's, I would hope it is, but, like I say, we have trained Rangemasters amongst our scouters, and we are constantly loaning them out to other groups that don't. It's a really great way that, a group, if you can afford to, in terms of time and cost, if there's associated cost, if you can afford to have a few people go out, take the training, I mean, that's a benefit to your group because then obviously you can run Rangemaster-led activities. But then there might be other groups in kind of the area or even, an hour or two drive if people don't mind it that much. I don't mind it, but, I'm not everybody, but some don't. But, there might be other groups in the region that could also benefit from the fact that, oh, yeah, we can, loan you a trained Rangemaster for a day or a weekend or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, most of the camps that I do, generally what we do is they put out the notification we're going to have the training. People come out, take the training, and then they join the what they call a range committee. And then what you have is you have a whole list of people that when you have a group that comes out, I like to book archery. Okay, here's a list of people who wants to come out. And that's generally how most times I've done it. Like for the camps that I'm involved with, other than Everton, which I'm head of the range committee, it's just like, yeah, we just go through the list and ask who wants to come out, and they come out for the afternoon or whatever, do the activity, and then they go home for the day.
Perfect. And yeah, that works amazingly well. So, there's the encouragement, I guess, for this episode is get trained and then help your other scout groups out if they have need, because hey, the kids do love to shoot stuff. That is a thing. Well, this might wind up being a very short and sweet episode, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I'm always willing to talk archery because I always say it's like, it's one of the things where I've never gone to a camp, never seen a kid saying, "Hey, I don't want to do it." I always have kids that are hesitant of trying it, but once they get up there and try it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll do this again."
Yeah, every time.
And I remember when they had it at the last CJ, they actually shot pelletry, archery, and tomahawks all on the same range. They had them all lined up, and they all went. So
yeah, one after the other. Well, I mean, a range is a range in some respects, right? It's just where you put the targets.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Oh, no problem.
Have to scramble for our vehicles here right away, but yeah, we'll definitely have to have you and your brother back on. He had a few more topics that he wanted to discuss, And I mean, like I say, I've got some stuff lined up in 24, hopefully for like Scouts Canada to be involved. I've got to get back with Colin. Hopefully I can do that soon here too. We've just been so busy in our professional lives that we haven't had a chance to really meet in person that much. But this may well wind up being the first episode of 2024. And if so, Happy New Year. Happy Scouting New Year. Technically, it's a new program year. Thank you out there for listening. Thank you as well, Sheldon, for your long listenership.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And until next time, be prepared.